Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our Fridays for Florida virtual discussion on education. My name is Alan Ellison. I'm happy to be with you tonight. I'm running for the United States Senate to represent your interests in the United States Congress. Tonight, we wanted to have a conversation on education, and this conversation is going to lead into a town hall on Twitter at 7:30, and we're going to go into a lot of different verticals when it comes to the education component of the issues in Florida. But also, we're going to talk about education in general, not only from a grade school level, but also through the training programs and through college education. And I think it's something that people across the country will definitely appreciate as we get into it. One of the things that I wanted to say is that, I take my hat off to all teachers. I used to be a teacher myself, teaching kindergarten, first grade and second grade. And I used to also do a little bit of teaching in cosmetology at the college here. So I understand what you teachers are going through. Let me be the first to say that, as a congressperson, I would definitely work to try and increase the amount of money that teachers are receiving, because I know that you teachers are definitely overworked and underpaid. And I always say that without teachers, where does every other profession come from? It takes teachers to teach a society of people that will go on to do great things and just help our society to continue to build. Education is so important in our society. Without education, we wouldn't have doctors. Without education, we wouldn't have engineers. We wouldn't have all of the things that help our society to move forward. And so for that, I just want to say to all of you teachers and professors, thank you for what you do. I know that it is not easy, and I know that right now in the state of Florida, teachers are being challenged in ways that we cannot even imagine, especially as our population begins to or continues to grow larger and larger. Class sizes are much larger than they used to be, and we know that smaller class sizes are definitely a better way to go in terms of making sure that our students get adequate amount of understanding from the teachers. And so we want to definitely make sure that people understand that, who are not necessarily in the field of education, that when you send your students off to school, there are many, many challenges in the educational system. And one being simply that, it has become very difficult for teachers to be able to teach in an environment where politics is constantly interrupting the flow of education. We see right here in Florida where politics, as usual, is beginning to disrupt the flow of things when it comes to sex education. Right now in the county of Highlands County, they just literally took sex education out of the curriculum in school. And it's ridiculous, because at the end of the day, people try and push their religious ideologies on people when we really should have separation between church and state. Religious ideology should not interfere with the education of our students, no matter whether it's sex education, math, history. We should keep our politics out of our school systems. The only thing that we should be engaged in politics is civics, and that's just really giving students a better understanding of how government works, not a person's perspective on religion, their conservative views, or anything like that. And so we have to really look at what's going on in our school systems. We have there being a lot of division when it comes to what's real and what's not, when it comes to like simple things like science. COVID-19. We know that for over 800 years in the world, doctors have been wearing masks around patients for over 800 years, and we've learned through science, through biology, through anatomy, that viruses and pathogens, they affect the human body. But yet we have politicians who are challenging teachers, who are challenging the experts who have gone on and gotten further education on things such as do mask work. And let me tell you, for over 800 years they have worked. But all of a sudden in America, politics have gotten into the school systems, have gotten into our everyday lives to a point where now we are not even respecting the education of those who have gone on to study things such as virology and biology and all of these things that you can only get through education. So education is very important. Without education, we wouldn't have things like highway systems that are built by structural and civil engineers. Simple things like just being able to move around. I went to school for cosmetology. I learned how to do hair. I also went to school for political science. I learned how our government works. And the thing is that we have to get back to respecting people with education, because right now in our society, in our state, people are challenging those with the knowledge, those with the education. It has almost become an environment where people simply don't respect you if you have education. I could not even see myself debating with a doctor about something that they have gone to school for 12 years to learn, and I didn't even go to school for one day to learn about the things that they have learned. It has become very ridiculous. Right now, Florida is the third largest state in terms of population, but our state is behind every other state when it comes to how much resources, financial resources, we put towards education. Right now, for all of you parents out there who have students that are in the IEP program, I know that you are struggling with the fact that your children are not getting the help that they need. You're struggling with the fact that when you call, your calls are being ignored. Know that I hear you. I hear it all the time. I get inbox messages, phone calls from parents that are struggling with the IEP program. Simply put, with more financial resources, we can hire more IEP program coordinators, administrators that can actually help. But Florida is putting even less financial resources into place. And so that's why I want to be able to go to Congress to be able to help find funding to bring back to this state so that we can strengthen our educational system. Not every student is going to go off to college, but I believe that every student should at least have a trade. And I think that we need to expand our grade school education to include various trades where people can pick up a trade and be able to provide a living for their family if they decide to go into that direction. Because I don't believe that everyone is going to go to college. But if they do go to college, the last thing that we need is for our students to be burdened down by college debt. Education has become so expensive, so costly. And I think that we really need to get a handle on our education from a cost perspective, because if it continues to go up, but the education remains the same or goes down, we are going to become a society that's going to fall behind the rest of the world in terms of academic achievement and education. And so we have to look at some of these things. We're going to get into a lot of this tonight at 7:30 on Twitter for the Power Hour Town Hall. So please, if you have any questions, be sure to drop those questions in the chat feature, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those questions and I'm going to pose these questions back to the audience on Twitter, and we're going to have conversation around them. If it's something that you think that I could be doing right now to help, whether it be a phone call to an IEP program administrator or a principal, if you want me to come to your school and speak to your students about civic engagement, I would love to do that. So anything that we can do to improve education in the state of Florida, you can definitely count me in, because I think that it is so important. I think that, oftentimes we teach our students and our children in our society to go to school and get a good education and then go out into the world and get a good job. Right now, people are doing just that. They're getting an education, but the cost of being able to pay for that education has gotten to a point where they're not able to continue getting education. I know people right now that would love to go back to college, but cannot go any further because of the college debt that they have incurred. I believe that if we were able to make a couple of adjustments in other areas unrelated to education, we could actually generate revenue to be able to pay for certain educational programs. Like, for example, I just said this the other day on TikTok. If we were to legalize cannabis recreationally and medically across the country, it would generate $135 billion, monies that we currently do not have in our system. We could utilize those resources to not only pay teachers what they are worth, but we could also put financial resources into programs like the IEP program, where people who learn differently can get the education that they need. We can institute more training programs where students can actually begin to learn trades. And then we could also pay for literally every student that is currently in college and everyone that would like to be in college up to 4 years for free with funds from a program like, legalizing cannabis. And there are various ways that this can be done. But what we really need is we need leaders who are looking out for the future of our country through education, looking out for our students who will become functional adults. And we need to have leaders who are just looking out for the nation as a whole by thinking outside of the box and being very creative in how we can fund our education. I believe that education is at the foundation of our society because, when it comes to how we develop as a society, education is always right there. We learn more, and the more we learn, the better we are, the stronger we are. We didn't become the greatest nation on earth by not being educated. We became the greatest nation on earth because we put a lot of stock in education, because we sought after it, because we went after it and brought it back wherever we could. People are able to learn from various avenues of education, whether it's picking up a book, whether it's going to a formal school, whether it's training under someone. But we have to put more emphasis on it now, especially when we're competing on the world stage for jobs, for certain industries. We don't want to lose our position because we haven't focused enough on education. We have to put even more resources so that we can continue to keep up with the rest of the world. Everything depends on it. Our military strength, our ability to look at climate and be able to curve the global footprint. That takes education. Our ability to recognize different viruses that try to come against the global population, like we just had with the pandemic. Our ability to recognize technology in a way that it could lead us to a cleaner, sustainable environment. All of these things take education of some sort, and we must do our part to invest in education so that we can be the best country that we can be, that can have an impact on the world. And so I just want to thank you for taking the time to be here with us this evening for our Fridays for Florida virtual discussion on education. As I said before, we're going to go into a lot more detail about this in our Power Hour chat. We're going to talk about everything from cost to Florida's statistics on where we are in education, how we rank up against other states, and how we rank in the world. We have to always consider the idea that we are not just a single body. We are interconnected on a global stage. And if we are not technically and savvy, if we're not engineering ourselves in a way that we can continue to connect with the world around us in the best possible way, then we're going to get left behind, and we cannot afford to lose any ground, especially whenever we are considering the fact that other nations want to be in our seat. And that's what we have right now with Russia. Russia wants to be where America is, and their level of aggression with Ukraine is simply based on trying to seize as much power as they can. And so education will teach people how to deal. But if we don't get the education, we will be clueless to what's going on. One of the things that I often do is whenever someone says something to me that clearly is based on a lack of education or a lack of knowledge, the first thing I think is, wow, This is why education is so important, because if they had the simple knowledge, then there was no way that people could just say anything to me whenever it comes to whether I'm going to split a vote, or whether the virus is real, or whether vaccines work. Like, just simple stuff that is supposed to be understood. I mean, I guess they say common sense isn't common, but at the end of the day, we can be better. We can know more if we put enough stock in education. Again, thank you all so much for what you do. Thank you all for being here with us. Continue to spread the message, share this video, and join our team if you like what we're talking about and you want to help improve the quality of life for everyone and not just some, because that's what we're about. Then join our team at alanellison.com. Be sure to follow us on all of the social media platforms. We are pretty much everywhere, trying to engage, trying to raise awareness on all of the issues. We are here literally every Friday night talking about a different themed issue. And then we leave this platform and we go on to the others, and we have an even more in-depth conversation with you, giving your comments, your input. I believe that a better educated voter makes for a better voter. And so this is why I take the time to spend with you talking about the issues, making sure that you understand how policy directly or indirectly impacts your world. We want to have the most impact, and that takes conversation. So that's what the Fridays for Florida is about. That's what tonight was about, making sure that people understand that our educational system is literally at the foundation of our society. And if we want to have a strong and vibrant society, we have to look at education as a key component to making that work. Thank you all very much. You have a wonderful evening.